Hello everyone, in today's video we'll talk about starting your own orchard with different kinds of trees and easy ways to maintain them and take care of them. So let's begin. In my garden as a hobbyist, I have some different kinds of trees, and the ways you take care of them is very simple. You have to follow some easy steps. You're not a commercial farmer after all, and you want to support your family with some fresh fruit now and then, and create some jams maybe. So taking care of your orchard is all about control, timing, and proper care. What I mean, you have to take care of certain periods of the tree. For example, early in the spring, when the fruit still haven't come, you have to take care of fungal diseases, pruning the tree, fertilizing it, planting in this period even, where you want to, it doesn't matter if you want to seed or use readily available trees which you want to plant in your garden. Control later on development of the tree. You have to take care of pollination, taking care of pests in your garden. There are many insects which harm your garden. Like, keep in mind that many trees like cherries, apples and pears are very susceptible to diseases and to pests as well. So keep in mind this. From time to time, check your trees, check your leaves, see how they develop, water them regularly, fertilize them, and you'll have a perfectly fine tree. There's no need to rely on special and expensive herbicides or insecticides, as they are very harmful for the other parts of your garden, especially bees, wasps. These are kind of natural pollinators which are the best in the nature, which help pollinate your entire garden, from flowers to trees, vegetables, other kinds of fruits, and so on. Different kinds of orchard trees require different kind of care. For example, the pear tree likes to spread its branches upwards towards the sky and follow a lot of sunlight. This is actually, very bad for the tree and very bad for you, because it will be hard to maintain the tree, it will be hard to prune, and it will be hard to pick up the fruit of the pear tree. Especially when it develops a lot of leaves and the branches are up, you cannot prune it and the tree will start to suffocate itself and it will develop a lot of diseases. Apple tree is completely different. It has very resilient, very sturdy wooden branches, but it has some very pesky pests which are very hard to deal with it, like the apple worm, which actually starts to grow into the apple fruit. And the pests of the apple tree are very special and they're very hard to deal with, but there are certain biological ways which you can help them without insecticides or herbicides. You can see my friends around the garden, they take care of the pests, like mosquitoes, fleas and other so on. And I like to keep everything insecticide or herbicide free. So let's get back to the topic. Apple trees. Apple tree also, they need a lot of pruning because they develop a lot of leaves, a lot of branches, and this can stop the airflow inside the tree. If there is no airflow, there will be a lot of fungi, and the insects, they can hide inside your leaves. And one way to deal with insects and so on is using your own birds and using something which is natural in the nature. Avoid herbicide and insecticide, as this will harm your bees, this will harm the wasps, and when there is no pollinators in your garden, you won't have any flowers, you won't have any fruits, vegetables and so on. Even tomatoes rely on bees and different kind of pollinators. You can hurt them, you can exterminate them without a chance of coming back if you use a simple insecticide, even for one time. So let me show you my apple trees now. Another type of tree I have here are the apricots, which everyone likes them. They're very tasty, but also you must take special care of them. They are very tender trees. Yeah, I know it's very loud in here. They're very tender trees and they're also very prone to diseases, but I will show you some methods that you can help them deal with those pests in a natural way. Prunus is a similar to apricot. They're basically in the same family, and the pests, they also tend to jump from one another to another. So let me show my apricot and my prunus trees, which I planted a few weeks ago. As you see here, this is one of my newest trees. It's actually a prunus tree. There are 2 prunus trees and 2 apricots. I placed them close to each other so that they can be easily pollinated. For example, when a bee comes or a wasp comes, it lands on the flower, pollinates it, it jumps to the next tree, pollinates it. It's very easy. Also maintaining, for example, I come to prune the tree, I take care of this tree, I know the branches, how to make them, I know the desired height, I know what kind of fertilizer I want to put in. If it is nitrogen rich, phosphorus rich, or calcium rich. So I do to the same trees. Also apricots and pears, they are very similar and they like the same kind of fertilization. Also apricot and pear trees, they're very similar. They're almost like the same kind of fertilizer and the same type of care. This here is the prunus tree. Let me show you the buds. And the way to check how the tree is performing, if it is catched or so to mean, as you see the little buds, you see them, they're starting to show some greens. This means the tree is not dead, even though it's late April here now. This tree will not give fruit this first year. You can see some flowers, but you should avoid them. You should prune them off. Why? Because when the tree starts to develop some fruits, imagine these small branches, they have to take care of big fruit. And there's no need. You can have some pieces of apricots or prunus, but it's very likely that these 3 branches will break and this will stall the growth of the tree. So you just take care of them, prune them, and let the tree develop. In my region, the cherry tree is extremely popular. Everyone loves cherries, everyone loves fresh cherries, so it's definitely a must-have tree in your garden. It also takes a special care, but once you get a hand of it, it will be very easy for you to take care of it. The cherry tree, there are different kinds, but the care of them is all but similar. They all have similar pests and they all develop similar diseases. The best way to deal with a certain disease is just to cut the affected branch. If the disease is very hard, you can rely to some insecticide or herbicide which are biological. It will not hurt the flower, which will not hurt the tree itself, or the insects that pollinate your garden. The tree also relies heavily on pruning early in the spring or late in the autumn. I prefer early in the spring. This will help them develop stronger. It will be more tender to the tree rather than pruning it in the winter. This here is a type of a pear tree, and you may not like the tree. That's why, because it was not taken care for years. It was just planted, I believe, 4 years ago, and it went straight upwards. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the tree, check out its wood branches. They all go straight up. There is a very little growth in sideways, especially here. There is a branch here, but I believe in some storm it break away. So my first job was chop the top branches, prune the interior of the tree, allow airflow, and when the tree developed its flowers, I took off some of the flowers. That's why, come closer, let me show you. This is, for example, a single flower cluster, and you see here already forming. These were all pollinated by my bees. I'll show them to you in a second. These were all flowers and these are small apples. This one is developed, this one is developed, and to make a single fruit, a strong fruit, tastier fruit, you should really leave maximum 3 or 4 fruit on a single cluster. For example, this one is very heavily, so you just remove the weakest. This one is weak, so you just snip it. As you see, compare it to this one, there's no need to keep it. So I leave here 4. I'll do here the same thing. I remove some of these. This is not harmful to the tree. It will develop a stronger fruit, better fruit. As you see here, there is some pain. This is because they were treated by copper. It's completely eco-friendly, it's completely biological, it doesn't hurt anyone, and it helps. This is a completely different kind of a pear tree. As you see, it has a lot more leaf growth. Even the type of the leaf is completely different. I also pruned it. As you see, there is a big branch in the center. I pruned it. I put some additive into it, essential oils, which help against diseases and so on. And I also took care of the fruit clusters. As I said, some of the flowers were removed. I have to take care of it even more. You know, this is the early stage of the development of the fruit. As you see here, oh, this is a very beautiful pear, and it's very strong stem. There are no diseases. There is no curling. There's nothing that indicates a disease. This one was a broken branch, as you see. This is not supposed to happen, and I'll take care of it in the autumn. Another type is this one. It's a different kind of a pear tree. As you see, it's completely new, and there are no pears on it. I removed all of the pear flowers, and I want for the first year or even the second year to allow the tree to develop its branches, to develop its roots. It must not spend its energy into developing the pear fruit. Another pear tree. This one is actually a more problematic. There was some disease. When I found it, the tree was 3 times this height. So I cut the center branches, I left the side branches, and allow airflow in the middle of the tree, into the crown of the tree, because diseases spread around here. As you see, the bark is very damaged, and probably in future I'll have to cut it around here in the center, and to allow just the strong roots to develop. There are also fruit clusters that I must take care of, but overall the tree, you know, it can be saved. It's nothing bad to worry about. We all love apples. This is one of my older apple trees. As you see, it was also left to decay. It was not taken care of, but once I took care of it, for example, 2 months ago, I really did a lot of job onto it. I pruned the top part, I pruned some of the middle branches, allowed airflow back into it, and I took care of the broken branches. I spread some essential oils, different kind of oils, just to avoid fungus and different kind of diseases. As you see, if you compare the pear and the apple tree develops much later. When the pear tree is starting to develop its fruit, the apple tree is just starting to bloom. As you see, there's a very white and purple flowers. They're pollinated by bees, beetles, wasps, all kind of insects. So definitely avoid any type of insecticide. This tree in particular was suffering from a pest which was called the apple worm. Everyone knows about it. There are different kinds of worms and so on. And this worm actually, when the little apple develops around this big apple, a worm from the bottom climbs and gets into the apple fruit. He develops there, the apple rots, the apple remains small, and it's quite possibly the apples may fall. There are different kinds of taking care of these pests, and I'll show you. I use the method of putting the apple fruit in bags. This is completely biological, it doesn't harm anyone, and the apple develops on its own. There is no need to spray it with all kinds of stuff. Behind, there is actually a small apple tree. I planted it a few weeks ago. as you see closely, there are no apple flowers. I removed them. And this tree, when I planted it, I cut the top part because I wanted to develop branches sideways. I don't want the trees to get big. I'm tall, I'm pretty tall myself, but I don't want to put any effort into taking, some kind of ladder or something just to reach the higher fruit. It's far easier to manage lower trees. So this will be, when I spread my arm upwards, this will be the maximum height of the apple tree. These here are some of my helpers in the gardens. These are my own bees. They help pollinate my garden, not just the orchard. I also have a vegetable garden and flower garden. They're essential, and when I monitor their health, I realize that my garden is insecticide free, herbicide free. If they suffer, my garden suffers. So I really create some kind of symbiosis here. And behind there you can see one more pear tree, apple tree next to it. The woods above, there are also a lot of wild animals there, wild beasts and so on. And I really spread some, you wouldn't be able to see it, but I really spread some. I planted some cherry trees, almond trees, fig trees. And when I come here, I like to take a walk, just inspect the trees. This here is also different kind of tree. I see the bees, they're all happy. They are feeding on the flowers and so on. So this is a quick tour of my rest of my garden, rest of my orchard. As you see, this pear tree, it's actually developed a very strong middle branch that went straight upwards. It was very tall. I cut it off and I encourage it to grow sideways, as you see here, and I will put this to go this way. Another branch, this one, I actually may employ some, some old school techniques and just to apply some weight, with strings or some weight, just to put this branch sideways. Another tree here. You see these lovely flowers, rich in nectar and pollen. Inspect the tree trunk. There are no diseases. I actually don't like this section here. I should probably cut the smaller branch, because here, as you see, this may actually be susceptible to fungi in future. Should take care of it. But overall, this tree is very happy. It's just starting to develop its leaves, its flowers, so we see a lot of fruit from him. Different kind of small trees of here, apples, pears, as you see, and they're starting to form, I see it, little leaves in the bottom. I should really prune those, because we must leave the bottom part of the tree alone, because we must keep the airflow. I can leave this one to spread sideways, have some fruit here. The top is developing okay, all the flowers are removed. So let's see this cherry tree. Yes, it's a cherry. It is its second year. As you see, it's very tall. I cut the top part. It was not taking care of it properly. I left some of the flowers, and as you see, the little cherry fruits are starting to develop. It's wonderful. There are no diseases, no pests, no insects. Here is my fig tree. I let it to be like a bush type a little bit. I have to prune it. And this fig has already started to form a fruit. more apple and pear trees. And this tree is actually very interesting. It's a paradise apple tree. I don't know how it's called in your native language. I just googled it, and it develops a very interesting apples, yellow apples, orange apples, that actually taste a little bit like a carrot. Everyone describes the tastes in a different manner. These are very, very tender leaves, and it still hasn't flowered. Some old trees. Some more trees that I pruned. I took care of many old trunks, and they're actually starting to grow anew. You see these fresh leaves, and they will flower in a moment of days. Cherry tree, very beautiful cherry tree. It was actually very big and had some problems, as you see here in the bark. This was actually a hit. I spread some essential oils and other, and as I see, it's actually starting to grow again. Very good. There was a wood branch here which I took off, and it's spread with essential oils. You can see it's so natural, just to avoid fungi to get into the tree itself. This tree has a very good airflow, very good light. I believe it will be very good, you know, just for color and taste. These are my raspberries. I planted them a month ago, and they're going splendidly. If we look closely, soon they will flower. Yes. You see these little buds here? These will be the flower buds. And after that, if everything is well, there are no diseases, there are no pests, the weather is kind to us, we will have very fresh raspberries. Some more trees, and this here, behind this, is actually an apricot tree, which is very old, and I must take care of it. But I don't believe I can save it, because as you see, the bark is very hurt. I tried to spade it with some white paint just to avoid some insects and fungi. Hope I did the job. And this here, let me check. This here is a little fig tree that I planted. I'll show you how to plant fig trees, very easy. And you just really need to care. I must place something here that no one steps on it. So this is for today's video. So thank you for watching. This was a tour around my orchard, showing you some of the trees and how I take care of them. There are many tips and tricks around this, how to fertilize, how to irrigate, and you know, just a basic care of the tree. I believe you learned something today. There will be far more videos of my orchard, so please write in the comments what you need to know. Pest care, disease care, irrigation, fertilization, pruning. We can cover just so much more information, but I need some, you know, comments from you to know what you want to see next. Thank you, and see you next time.